All right, cool. All right, I believe we're on episode 7 now of the Circlecast, and today our guest is the band The Graying. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go
Yeah.
first. Or you
All
can
right,
go
go ahead.
first.
Go ahead, Derek.
All right, I'm Derek. I play bass.
Oh, me. I'm Noah. I play the drums.
I'm Rob. I play guitar.
And I'm Jordan. I am the vocalist for the band.
So I'll start off with something basic. Where'd you guys get the name The Graying from?
When we were talking about starting the band, I had a couple of names in mind, and it actually wasn't the first choice for the band name. But I've been sitting on it for a while. So when I was in school, I read an article about population graying. And if you don't know what that is, essentially what it is it's basically younger generations aren't having kids. A lot of that has to do with the economy and shit like that. So I thought it was just a cool sounding name, and it kind of like was representative of like what younger people are dealing with, and just the inability by the older generations to recognize it, because you always hear shit like, you know, oh, millennials or Gen Z, they're spending their money on things they don't need. So I thought it was like a cool fuck you to that that older demographic, even though technically I'm probably closer to that age than I am to a Gen Z.
Old man.
Yeah, Derek's old.
When did you guys form the band? The furthest I could stem back to was like 2018.
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Technically, it hasn't, because we had the pandemic that kind of took a few years away from everything. So it really kind of feels like we didn't really start until like 2021.
I mean, I can kind of talk on like my first impressions of the band prior to joining the band, actually, just because it was a pretty interesting one. If that's something that you guys are interested in talking about with
I can talk about. I already know where this
Absolutely.
is going. Talk about it.
So I've known Noah, our drummer, for a number of years, just previous to anything that we did with music. We were always in other bands locally, kind of going back and forth, playing shows together, booking shows together, things like that. And basically, when I left my last band, or when we kind of disbanded, I noticed that Noah spoke on Facebook about looking for a singer. So, you know, I was freshly new to the band dating scene at that point. So I reached out and I was like, hey, like I'm looking for something to do. And in true Noah fashion, he sent me the lyrics of one song and the audio of another, and told me to record the song for a demo. So I did. And actually, Rob has a really good explanation as to what he thought of that recording. Rob, can you hear me?
Yeah, I mean, I think I remember saying he's really good, but I think he's dumb.
So we ended up correcting that because Noah is Noah, and we love him for that. But luckily, I won out from some other people that were trying out for the gig. That's when we kind of started writing the As Above EP, actually.
July 1st of 2019 is when I saw the post for Robin departing from the band, and as a send-off on later in the month on the 26th, you guys released the Broken Mirrors single.
That's correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, that song was actually going to be on As Above, but we had already recorded vocals for it, so we just decided to put it out.
Yeah, as a separate.
Yeah.
For the music, for the most part, what would you guys define yourself as? I saw it said metalcore.
I think metalcore makes the most sense, but like it's
like a dirty word.
Yeah, it's like a dirty word. It's exactly the exact terminology I was going to say. Is dirty word.
Too metal to be hardcore, but too hardcore to be metal, and too punk to be other stuff. But it's also kind of doomy. So I don't know. Call it whatever you want.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. I noticed it was a quite the blend of genres. There's a lot of like metalcore riffs and sections, like in the especially in the older stuff. I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was one of my favorites from like the older. The first.
Yeah. Like I said, that song was supposed to be on that EP, so like it kind of feels more in vein with that with the As Above EP than it does anything else, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Later in the year in 2019, October 4th, Jordan had joined the band.
Yeah, we kept that one secret for a bit, but yeah, that was I think if I remember correctly, we released the single the same day we announced it, or it was pretty close.
It's
It might have been a
really,
little bit before.
so it's actually really funny that you mentioned that, because during the process of them selecting me to be in the band, I didn't hear back from the band for a good amount of time. And in that time frame, they released Broken Mirrors, and I was under the assumption like, well, I guess they have somebody. So I don't remember exactly what I said, but I think I reached out to Noah and was like, "Oh, so did you guys find somebody?" And he was like, "Oh no, that song's been pretty old. Like we've been talking. We want you to be in the band." And so yeah, it was an interesting way to be introduced into you guys, and then our first experience with in Rob's shack of like a top place that he used to live.
Yeah, it was pretty instant too. Like I felt like we had known each other, because that was the first time that I had met you, and I felt like we had known each other for years for half an hour.
Yeah, definitely.
And then I got offered milk, I think.
Yeah,
Noah
that night.
offered me milk. Yeah.
Oh, milk. That's right.
I believe it's the first single that you dropped with Jordan on vocals was Godless on November 29th, which is also one of my favorite songs that you guys put out too. I noted here like 3 or 4 of my favorite tracks you guys had. You ended up releasing that on the As Above EP on February 14th, Valentine's Day of 2020, like right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had played a show, I think it was February 20th, and then we played another show March 6th, and we were in Providence, and we basically said, I remember being at the venue and saying, gee, I wonder if this is going to be a big deal. Like, it seems like it's kind of a big deal. And then we didn't even make it to the next week. They shut everything down. I think we'd done 3 shows with Jordan at that point, and that was it.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And we didn't get to do anything until 2021.
One was Body Snatcher.
Yeah,
one
Body
was,
Snatcher.
I can't remember the other ones, but some decent shows for sure. And then nothing.
Oh, it was Kingsman?
Kingsman was one of them,
yeah.
But yeah, it must have been harder to like promote the album because you guys were doing a bunch of shows, and to just have to stop, probably, But from that album, I really like listening to that album. The metalcore parts in "Burn to Believe," pretty dope, and then also another notable section was the ending breakdown on Dimensions.
Divisions.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
Divisions. Oh, sorry, my
Yes.
writing is so sloppy here.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, Divisions. Yeah, those were some of my favorite parts. And then, of course, the Godless single is probably my favorite song on that EP.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, yeah.
A couple other singles here, too, that you guys dropped throughout 2020, 2021, 2022. The Shepherd and the Sheep. And then the Reckless Abandon, which had a music video. I think that was your second music video you guys did.
Yeah.
I saw both, so they were pretty cool.
Thank you.
Well, what's it like doing that? A music video.
I mean, I had an absolute blast, especially with Nick, our videographer. He does most of our photography, most of our videography, and he's just a pro through and through. Killing It Entertainment is just a phenomenal a company to work with, and we've been very, very fortunate to have him on our team. It was a cold one. It was a real cold one that day. I think the guys can probably attest to that. We were miserable by the end of the filming.
I would say it was 25 degrees. Sorry, Jordan. I didn't interrupt you. Yeah.
It was.
I thought you were done. Sorry.
No, you're good. No, it was pretty miserable. But at the end of the day, art is sometimes pain, right? So.
Yeah,
right.
I committed to the bit of wearing what I was wearing not being very, very weather accommodating. And God, man, I have never been so miserable by I think we started at, was it 11 and we finished at like 8?
Yeah, it was about like 9 or 10 hours, and it
Like,
was
give or
cold.
take.
It was January, and it was at my buddy Andy's house. I was living with him like just months prior, and I had actually filmed a music video with another band years before that. And I was just like, "Hey, Andy, can we just use your property?" He owns a big cranberry bog with barns, and there's some parts we filmed were out in the bog, some parts were right in his backyard, and some parts were in his literal garage that he has like all his welding shit in. So it worked out really well, and that's why we keep kind of using that spot.
Yeah.
But we love Andy for that. He's been very accommodating.
He also allowed us when we first, I think it's important to acknowledge this, that like when we first started being able to practice again during the pandemic, he was very, very receptive to us using that space, and as long as we were responsible with it, and he never complained. He didn't have to do that, and I think in a lot of ways probably saved the band. Oh yeah, by the way, we're talking about killing it. Shout out Nick Court. Shout out his band Last Sight.
Yeah, buddy.
Shout out Last Sight.
Yes.
And then for this current year, you guys dropped 2 singles. June 2nd was Idolator, which is my personal favorite track you guys released.
Hell
And then
yeah.
my second favorite being Cyanide a month later in July.
Yeah, those are going to be off of our upcoming LP that we finally have situated, which is going to be really exciting. We just finished recording, and we're kind of tying up some of the guest vocal spots and stuff like that. So it's exciting. It's exciting.
But yeah, that was my next point. You guys released a whole bunch of singles through the like couple of years that I was wondering when the next either EP or full length would have been coming out. So it's good to hear you guys are working on that.
Yeah, real soon.
Definitely.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's out next month. But obviously we want to wait until everything is squared away. You don't want to put out something you don't fully believe in, but it's real close. Oh, also there is another video for Idolator that Nick also shot that is on up now.
Oh, I must have missed that then. And that's
yeah,
good.
I can send it to you.
I was saying it wrong too.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I can send you the link at some point if you want to check it out. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely send it to me after this. Yeah. I was also pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah, it's a hard name to pronounce. A lot of people, you'd be surprised. Actually, you wouldn't be surprised at how many people say it Idolator.
It's Idolator.
So I live in New York, so going to shows is kind of like difficult for me. But I actually did get the chance to see you guys live earlier this year, January 20th at Starlite with Wretched Inferno, Necroland, Inconvenience Store, Chokeout, and I think one other band I can't remember. But definitely.
That was a very, very important show, and for reasons, if you want to talk about it, we could talk about it. If not, like, we'll keep it private. But like there was an event that happened that night that really, really, I think, cemented the band. I think it made it stronger. But it's some personal stuff, so we won't divulge on that. But that was a very, very important show, I think. And
so I guess
I know I was going to talk about it.
I guess my question would be, how was it? How'd we do?
Oh yeah, that's what I was going into. Yeah, it was great. I didn't hear of you guys prior to it, so I had started following you guys after that, and I had heard some of the songs. And it was way earlier in the year, and I smoke a lot of weed, so I tend to forget a lot of things. So I listened to some of the music prior, and then going back on listening to it now, doing the research for the interview, I was like, oh yeah, I fucking remember this song, and you guys were great. That's why I followed you guys.
Tremendous. Appreciate that. It wasn't our best show. We'll just say that.
Yes. We'll just say I don't really remember playing it.
Okay.
And I was worried someone went to it. But since then, hell, I'll just say it. I had a pretty bad drinking problem right up until that point, and I've been sober ever since. So.
Yeah, there was a conversation outside that I think needed to happen, and it actually has. wasn't expecting this to come up, but like it's kind of, I don't want to say cool, but like it is like an important night in the band's history, because I think that conversation outside and like just us putting aside just being in a band and being friends, like, because that's the thing about us is like we're genuinely like really good friends. Like I love hanging out with these guys, and like the thing that like when Jordan told us he was moving, like I didn't really care that he was moving. Other band wise, I was just bummed out that I wasn't going to see him as much. But like, yeah, that show was real important, and it's very like, I don't want to say surprising. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is here. Like,
it was a catalyst for the things that we ended up doing afterwards. I think it was big for, and you know, like I just want to kind of, you know, at least compliment Noah on what he was able to do after that point, and I'm very, very, you know, impressed and very proud of him for what he did after that point. But I'm also really impressed and proud to show like that we as friends made it through that, and we as friends stayed together, and we united at that point, and we didn't let stupid shit get in the way of what we wanted to do. So
that was a good show. All those bands fucking rule.
Hell yeah,
absolutely.
And all those bands are just like doing phenomenal things right now too, and it feels like not even, it hasn't even been a year, and like a lot of those bands are just like doing, like they've almost like gone light years ahead of where they should be at this point. The Wretched Inferno kids, like I've booked them a few times, and like they're just phenomenal. Like some of the best death metal I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're fucking insane. Yeah, I was gonna say you guys play a lot of shows both before and after the pandemic. Do you guys have a favorite show that you may have played?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
That's a really
mini bike massacres are always fun.
Yeah.
We play these mini bike festivals in the middle of the Cranberry Bogs in Wareham once a year for our buddy who we mentioned earlier that we used to practice at. And it's just like a good redneck fun time. And we usually play later in the night, so it gets pretty rowdy, and there's like fireworks and stuff. And it's a legit like stage and production, so that's always fun. But I mean, there's definitely some other shows that are more like in the scene. That's kind of an outside the scene show for some weird reason. But we're trying to introduce more bands from the scene to those shows, because those guys will love them for sure.
Yeah, we always talk about that day. It's like I always describe it as the longest day of my life, and I want to like don't want to do it every year. I'm like, oh my God, no, why are we doing this? Because it's Noah's friend, and like, but it ends up being one of those situations where like the second we start playing, I'm like, oh my God, this is fun. This is unbelievable fun. It's the most professional DIY show I've ever been a part of.
That's sick. Where was that again?
So it's in Wareham, on the Cranberry Highway. He owns bogs, so basically he shuts the bogs down. The day side is mini bikes, motorcycles, go-karts, all types of things. Yeah, burnout competitions, weird things like that. It's a weird thing, and like and then the end of the night there's usually I mean, he has bands playing all day, but the last half of the show is usually metal and hardcore. I mean, like years past, bands like Death Ray Vision have played. We've played a few others that I can't think of at this point in time. The one that stands out to me would probably be actually right before the show that you went to. The week before, we played in my hometown of Plymouth, at a venue that I had been pushing them to have hardcore shows and metalcore shows and punk shows, just anything subculture at. And finally they gave us the green light to do it, and we sold the room out before we played a note. And like just being able to do that in my hometown and like have all my friends come out and a family, and then just seeing like something that I had thought of before this band existed come to fruition with this band, and for me to be a part of it was like something that I'll never forget.
Do you have a favorite venue that you guys play at?
Ooh.
I mean,
it could be like DIY or like, you know, professional or anything.
I mean, the Strand was fun only because it made us feel like fucking rock stars.
that was true. Yeah.
And the sound was really good. Yeah. But with a room that big, and you could have 200 people there and it still feels very empty. So
I like smaller shit. I think Dusk is a great spot. I'm not gonna lie, I like Sammy's.
Yo,
People
the last Sammy show was
patio.
Yeah.
I mean, I personally obviously, the Strand / what we used to call Lupos was, when you're a younger kid in the scene, like that's like the number one place that you want to play that, you can kind of consider yourself like legitimate at that point, which was pretty rad. But like I think we played a skate park at one point, and that was pretty
I
sick.
forgot about the Falmouth show. Yeah,
Yeah.
Falmouth Skate Park. That one was a lot of fun too.
That was another cold one.
Is that a cold one?
Yeah, it was in November outside of the skate park.
Ran off of a full start generator and the cord ripped.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Shout out
funny.
Hey Still Burns for putting us on that one.
Oh, yeah.
My next one here is a double. It's what's your favorite song to play live, and what's the hardest song to play live?
Ooh.
I mean, I don't think I have any say in this. All the songs. I mean, to like vocally, the hardest one is probably on this new record that's coming out right now. We don't even have like solidified. I mean, I guess we do have solidified names for other songs, but there's one song in particular that I kind of, I write a lot of lyrics and try to smash it into small areas. And I kind of did that with the new songs, so that's gonna be fun. But my favorite song is probably Idolator.
For me, I would say the easiest, but they're all, none of them are really overly challenging. No offense to Robin, that's by design. There are a couple that like sometimes those that shit, I'm blanking on the name. It's on the new record. We have a song on the new record that like some of the timing is kind of weird. Yeah, that throws me off, but like we've nailed it down for the most part. But my favorite song right now is probably Cyanide, just because it's like not like anything else in the set. But
yeah, you're right.
They're all fun to play, to be honest with you. But Cyanide is a standout for me.
Yeah, I'm revising my initial statement. Cyanide is the fun one.
Yeah, probably the hardest ones for me haven't come out yet, because I got a little ambitious when I wrote the parts, thinking, yeah, I can do that. I can do it, but not as well as quickly as I thought I could. Call of the Void. I specifically asked Rob to try to change a part because I'm like, I don't think I can play that. He goes, no, you can do it. So I forced myself to get better at that one. So that was hard, but I mean, they're all a lot of fun. Cyanide is really fun to play because it's not very hard. But even the hard ones are fun to play because then when I get through it, I'm like, yeah, did it. Yeah, so classic Noah answer where you don't get a straight answer at all.
I mean, for me, I'd say Cyanide's the most fun one. Definitely, because it's one, super easy. And two, I love Gallows. And I clearly was just like, I'm going to write a Gallows song. And then for like, it's not really a difficult song, but I love playing The Shepherd the Sheep because it's super fast. And I grew up listening to a lot of really fast like skate punk stuff. And there's a lot of like stop and starts. And I feel like Noah and I really lock in on those punk beats because we're like, our minds just meld because we're both just two idiots. And we make one small brain.
Yeah, I get real sad when I don't get to play a punk beat.
I can confirm they're both idiots.
My next one here is when I ask people this, they normally give me a bunch of answers, but you can feel free to. But I'm looking for like your number one favorite. Is who is your favorite band or artist from New England?
All time.
I like this one.
I mean, this is an easy one for me. American Nightmare.
Okay. Noah, you got to go next because I'm trying to think of one right now.
Yeah,
like for me, so you gotta in order to kind of make this decision, makes sense, I guess, is you kind of have to go back to when you started listening to heavy metal and like what you were growing up with. And I feel like, at least for me, when you think of like iconic New England metal bands, like I immediately go to Killswitch Engage in terms of New England based metal. So I would say Killswitch for sure.
Oh,
Hell
I
yeah.
think I got it. The Acacia Strain.
Hey,
When
Okay.
Continent came out, yeah, it was Continent. They played one of their CD release shows at the Living Room in Providence when that was still around. And I had not heard of them at the time, but I went because I think there was like a local band that I used to like back then, called The Miles Between. Maybe they weren't local, maybe they just
They
played a
were.
lot. Oh, they were?
Yeah.
Okay. So I went to see them, and then when I saw the Acacia Strain, holy fuck, was I in danger. And ever since then, I always wanted to kind of, be on the other end of that. So yeah, I would say the Acacia Strain.
I guess for me, I would have to say it's between three of them because I started listening to the different ones at different times. When I was really young, it was Vanna. When I got a little bit older, it was more like Bury Your Dead. And then my good childhood friend, his cousin played in Black My Heart. And so I kind of got into that band a little bit late, but I was like, oh, this is more like what people mean when they say hardcore for Massachusetts hardcore bands. So, and hearing all those bands do some really cool creative stuff with not the most technical guitar stuff, because I just like playing rhythm stuff. I like chugging and doing riffs instead of doing leads. So hearing those bands just play really cool rhythm riffs were definitely inspirational for how I play guitar.
he said one, Rob. He said one, not three.
Yeah.
I said one because my answer, and I love American Nightmare to this day. I have an American Nightmare tattoo. Like that was like I got kind of like the way Jordan thought of like who was popular when I was first getting like into it. Like what was the first band that like really resonated with me? And it's American Nightmare, and I still listen to American Nightmare to this day. I've seen them countless times. But yeah, I could keep going with this conversation. I could give you like 15, 20, but I'm not going to do that.
We're gonna move on. That's what we're gonna do.
Well, that's really all the notes I have left. If there's anything else you want to add on.
Up to you guys, man.
So
Derek, talk about the shows.
Yeah, let's talk about the shows. It's a good point. So I was just thinking of we have a weekend coming up in a couple weeks, January 12th to the 14th. We're actually going to be at Starlite, which is kind of fun based on your experience seeing us. January 12th at Starlite with first of all, the weekend is with our friends in a band called Shade Thrower and a band called Last Light, which you mentioned expand. But shout out Shade Thrower. So the 12th is a Starlight, and that's with Revelations from Central Mass, No Allegiance from Central Mass, and our friends in Chokeout from Western Mass. The following night, the 13th, is in Manchester, New Hampshire at Top Shelf Tattoo Gallery. That's same three bands on the bill, with the addition of a band called Multiple Pieces, No Arbiter, and Martial Law. And the following date is in Cranston, Rhode Island, January 14th. That's with the same three bands. Husk, who I believe you've had on your show. Clifford from Boston. I think they're from Boston. They're from up north. I think they're Berkeley kids. Riverbed from New Bedford, and the almighty Extinction AD is coming from New York to play the show too.
If Derek said all that off the top of his head, he was not reading a flyer.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there's more. There's going to be more down the line, but that they're not announced yet. Those are the ones that are announced, and hopefully people come out. We'll be really excited. Hopefully, I don't know if you said you're in New York. Be cool if you want to make it out to one. Here's some breaking news. Like, I'm not going to tell you anything other than the fact that we'll be in New York in March.
Okay. I'm gonna keep my eyes out on the page for the announcement.
All right.
I definitely love it when bands come towards my direction.
And if it's too north in New York, we'll be in Connecticut the night before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's sick. And
I was actually gonna say New York's pretty big, Derek.
Yeah. It's upstate New York.
I actually haven't had the chance to have Husk on, but if any of them are watching this, wink, wink, let's get you on.
Boys,
Shout out to them.
Maybe I thought you did just because I've seen like I know you've had people from that crew of kids. Those kids are fucking nuts, and like it's just like the fact that all of them are so young is just a testament to like how overly talented New England as a whole is right now musically. Like there's really something for everybody.
it's
It's like it's never gonna die.
I mean,
it's weird too.
That's part of it. Like, I mean, for me, it's like you have to, if you're an older band like us, like not that we're all old, other than me.
We're
not really that. We're not really that old, but like we're older comparatively to some of those kids. And I'm like, to me, like if you're an older band or you've been around, like you have to give those kids the platform because it's the only way it's going to continue to grow. Like, doesn't matter. Like, we did play. Jordan wasn't able to play the show, but we did play Husk's release show, and that was one of the best shows we've played in a while. And it's a bummer that Jordan couldn't have been there for it. But like when they asked us, like there was no doubt in my mind that we were going to find a way to play it, just because of like what I'm saying, what I was mentioning. Like I want to include that group. I want them to feel welcomed. I want them to, because they are the next generation.
The youths.
Yes.
It's like skateboarding, dude. It's like skateboarding. When you know how like when you used to start skateboarding, you could do a kickflip. Now you see kids literally doing Tony Hawk. What is going on here?
Just the like I want to keep. I just want to bring it up one more time. Like just like I think this might be the strongest crop of bands I've seen in a long time, at least in this area. And they're all over the place. Like we have bands that are older, you have bands that have been around for a bit that are younger and established. Then you have like bands that are still in high school, and my jaw drops watching some of them play because I can't believe how much better they are than us at this point.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Like I remember the first not like one of the first bands I followed from New England was Wretched Inferno back in like late 2019, early 2020, somewhere around there, and they were so much younger at the time, and my ears couldn't believe the music they were like putting out, because when I was their age I was listening to fucking Metallica and shit. I wasn't even writing music like that.
Right.
So it just blows my mind.
17-year-old dying fetus. That's
right.
the way I described them when I looked them the first time.
Yeah, so it's really cool to see. I don't think the scene is gonna die anytime soon.
No, I feel like it's the strongest it's been in a while. Coming out of COVID was really, really, really fun. Obviously, there's not every show is going to be a big hit, but we've been fortunate enough that most of ours have done really, really well.
But yeah, if there's anything else you want to add on, anything you want to plug?
I mean, album coming out soon. Did we settle on a name yet?
We did settle on the name. It's the name that you said, and we can drop it here if you want to. Be the official announcement.
But yeah, the album's going to be called "Death Is a Welcome Friend," and it's going to be, we're assuming January before the shows drop. And I think we have some cool guest vocalists on that album. It's going to be really cool. A lot of angry music, a lot of devil music, a lot of serial killer music, you know, the stuff we vibe with. So it's exciting. We're excited for it.
That's awesome to hear. And I guess if that's about it, I appreciate you guys joining me for the last almost an hour now, 45 something minutes.
Heck yeah, man. We appreciate you having us.
Yeah, and so to all the viewers, keep your eyes out for the new album. Go to a show, support local bands, and that's about it.
Good deal.